Hello, and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk Philadelphia. Well, 2017 is here, and unfortunately, the Eagles season has been over for quite some time. Well, they finished 7-9. We're going to be talking all about them, as well as the Philadelphia 76ers, a team on the rise in Philadelphia, having 17 wins so far. Well, stick around. We'll be right back.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hello, and welcome back. Well, I got a great people on today, a great bunch of guys. Josh Abrams coming on to talk some Eagles, as well as the Philadelphia 76ers, and Kyle McIntosh coming on to talk Eagles. Well, guys, the Eagles, unfortunately, were not able to make the playoffs this season. But in retrospect, going into the year, we didn't really have too many high hopes for them. We thought we have a new quarterback in Carson Wentz coming in. Rookie, it was kind of a shock after the whole Sam Bradford trade. Wind up getting a draft pick, and we will talk about the draft coming up. But what do you guys think of the season in a whole? Kind of just recap, where do you think the team kind of finished and how they finished, maybe getting that last one against Dallas. Although it was just a meaningless game, maybe they can bring some of that new energy into next season.
Right, you're definitely right. This season was, I think, what everyone, if not everyone, most people expected it to be. 7-9, 3-0 start, kind of got sluggish after the week 4 bye. I think towards the middle of the season, Carson started to show a little bit of his rookie side. Throwing high and wide over the middle was a big mistake that he made a lot of times. And but other than that, especially during that 3-0 start, he looked amazing. And I know people say, oh, it was against the Browns, it was against the Bears, and all that kind of stuff. But this is NFL professional football. And, when you have a rookie coming out of a Division I AA school doing that, I guess just progressing throughout the whole season, that's pretty impressive considering that, he didn't play against the most high-quality opponents in college. So I think there's a huge upside specifically for Carson Wentz.
And we can actually look at just the season summary as a whole for the Eagles right now, if we can get that graphic up. And, as you see it, you see guys like Ryan Matthews, who unfortunately, when he gets in the game and he plays really well, but injury-prone. That's the unfortunate factor in his career. You saw Zach Ertz play well during the last stretch, had 78 receptions, led the team. And then Darren Sproles. A guy's a consistent veteran, really just been an all-around great player to have on the team. It's just sad we haven't been able to put a bunch of good guys around him. But Kyle, talk about maybe some of these guys, maybe just the defensive side of the ball as well, and maybe things that you were upset about. What were your thoughts after that 3-0 start and where it kind of ended? Where did you think it kind of went?
All right. Well, if you remember me last season, I guess
the past.
We can say,
we're in the off season now. I guess technically.
It hurts, but I was really excited after that 3-0 spot. I remember just saying I had really high expectations. Oh yeah, we're going to beat this team and that team. And what we got after, of course, was pretty bad. We did lose a lot of games, especially that 4 or 5 game loss streak. But I think that was really important, especially for Carson Wentz's development, because we got to see everything. We got to see him perform well. We got to see him perform poorly. So now we have an entire offseason to evaluate and then once again go back and say, all right, we did these things well, reinforce that, and let's get rid of these negative traits. That's going to be huge because he could have had a successful season and then we could have had something catastrophic next season because we didn't see him perform poorly. So we got all that. We have the information. Now we just have to work that out, make sure Carson wants to supply weapons. Like we have Ryan Matthews when he is healthy, like you said. We have Darren Sproles, and Darren Sproles is great. But again, we have to start looking at his age. I don't think he's going to have too many great seasons. And we want to get somebody that Carson Wentz can have. We want to get his Zeke Elliott to Dak Prescott. We want to get him somebody that he can 100% rely on without having to worry about getting injuries or fumbles, especially on key downs. Defensive-wise, I thought the defense was great in the beginning, but then we started seeing a lot of errors and misplays and blown coverages and just losing to teams that we could have beaten if we would have made like another stop, and then penalties. Oh my God, the penalties. We got to make sure we don't commit
On
any more
both sides of the
penalties.
ball. That wasn't
Yeah,
just
both sides of the
defense.
ball, defense and offense. It was just too many penalties that we lost. Great field position. We lost in scoring drives because of penalties. Like, we would have won so many more games. We would have been 500 at least if we would have had, some of these penalties taken away.
Yeah, and let's stick to the defense, because I think that's an interesting part of how the season kind of ended. We started out really well, and a big part of that was how well our defense was playing. Jim Schwartz coming in as a neat defensive coordinator, it really felt like he brought a freshness to the team, but unfortunately we just were not getting pressure on other teams' quarterbacks late in that season. And obviously the whole thing of, does Schwartz want to blitz really, and he wasn't really showing much of that, and we weren't getting that pressure from really any of our guys, especially the defensive ends. Unfortunately, Barwin did not have the type of year that we needed out of him to really make that difference. And when you have secondary, obviously we have some solid safeties back there, but our corners are not shutdown corners, so we needed some better pressure. So Josh, maybe talk a little bit about that and what you saw from kind of how the defense developed, and then they kind of flattened out by the end of the year.
Yeah, the defense didn't play particularly well in the second half. I think our corners were getting shredded up by pretty average quarterbacks at this day and age right now. Like Eli Manning, for example, he's not the quarterback that won. He's not the type of quarterback right now that has plays like a Super Bowl MVP and all that kind of stuff. But we definitely need to focus on cornerbacks as our on the defensive side in the draft. Obviously, wide receivers on the offensive side, but there's a saying specifically in the sport of basketball. Good defense leads to even better offense. And when we have cornerbacks that are able to, jump in the path of passing routes, then I think that's going to make a big difference in, relieving our offense of being tired on the field from playing so many minutes. So, just overall, I think we need to focus on our secondary, and hopefully we can get some playmakers out of the draft or even out of free agency.
Yeah, Kyle, talk a little about where you see this defense kind of going in terms of the personnel, in terms of veterans, youth guys you see on this team. I think that's kind of the problem we're running into, is that some of our best players aren't really that young. On kind of both, outside of like offense with Carson Wentz and some guys, our receivers aren't great. We don't have anyone to truly rely on. So talk maybe about just age in general on this team and what the future is. Do we have certain guys we can rely on in the next 5 years?
Well, I know their front office, when they got rid of Eric Rowe, they decided that Jalen Mills was their future, face of the defense, and they're really, praising him, putting him in a position for him to do well, and he just has to produce to the level of expectations. It's kind of hard because we made some pretty bad cornerback selections in the draft so far, and then from trades we've got, remember Kerry Williams, and costing us a lot of games last season. Oh, season before last, his last season with us. But yeah, it's Jim Schwartz's defense. Sure, it was great in the beginning, but then once we started meeting those better offensive lines, like for the Packers game, for example, they destroyed us because their offensive line was just so good, and Aaron Rodgers had all that time to do what he does best. And that was a great example to see, all right, maybe we should mix it up. Maybe we should bring in more, blitz packages, mix it up a little bit, not just be the one-note kind of defender. Sure, it's great to establish consistency, but we do need to mix it up because you're going to have quarterbacks, as they see us play more under the Jim Schwartz defense, they're going to have more film to watch. They're going to know tendencies. So we just got to keep mixing it up, and then hopefully next season he can kind of incorporate those packages, and maybe we can be just even more aggressive, and then that'll throw teams off alone. Because again, we're kind of predictable in some ways and unpredictable in other ways, and unfortunately our defensive play calling was pretty predictable.
And let's go back to the offense. I mean, obviously the defense is something that we hope can get. It was a solid part of the season. We think that next year maybe get a couple extra guys, the draft, maybe we work on some cornerbacks. But going back to Carson Wentz, this is a guy who obviously is is the face of the franchise, and hopefully will be for a very long time, especially for Eagles fans. Let's bring his stats up this season just to kind of see what he was able to do in his rookie year. 3,782 yards, 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, completed over 60% of his passes, and was sacked 33 times, which is, I mean, he did take some sacks that he probably shouldn't have, held onto the ball a little too long sometimes. Obviously, the offensive line had its problems when he had Johnson out for pretty much most of the season. Starting with you, Josh, where do you think he goes? What do you think he does this offseason to hopefully make sure he doesn't have a sophomore slump? Because you wouldn't say he had an amazing rookie year, but he was good. I mean, he showed some really good signs. Obviously, he just has to make better decisions, obviously not throw the ball. It kind of sails on him a lot of times, it seems. But kind of talk about where do you think his main job is to do this offseason to not have that sophomore slump that many second-year guys kind of do.
Right. I think it's tough to try and determine what he needs to do to focus on for one area. I think part of any sport is really mental. So he's going to have to do a lot of probably just film study. He's probably going to have to just focus in on I guess certain teams on where he was going wrong with with that whole kind of spiel. But I think he's at this point right now where he can be an elite quarterback within the next couple of years. There's just some mental things he has to sort out, and I think that's something that he can fix within the next year or two.
Now, Kyle, kind of going off of that, Carson is a guy who will be going into his sophomore season, and obviously wide receivers are a big part of the problem, I think, for the Eagles. Guys that are not catching the ball, holding on to the ball, even when he's hitting them right in their hands or right in the chest. What is there a way that maybe they can have a connection over this offseason, maybe get in touch with them? I think I even heard when pretty much they were having their goodbye meetings and goodbye interviews with the media. I think Jordan Matthews said they should just go to North Dakota and just stay out there with them over the summer, over the offseason. So what do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, actually, I really like Jordan Matthews for that. His work ethic has been amazing, even if his production on the field hasn't been the best. You can check his Instagram. You can see all the practices he does, his dedication to improving. We really have a gem there as far as work ethic goes with Jordan Matthews. And I definitely think it's a good idea to just get all his targets and just go to North Dakota for at least just a month, just to make sure you're building up that chemistry, making sure that you're getting used to his passes, making sure that Carson Wentz can deliver the ball the way that they can catch it the best. Because, we all know there has been some really bad drops last season. There was catches that we could have easily made, would have resulted in touchdowns, but it didn't happen. So we just build up in that chemistry and stuff like that. And I think Carson Wentz himself, going off of what he was saying, I think one of the best quarterbacks he can watch would be Aaron Rodgers, going back to him, his ability to extend drives and then just be able to move around in the pocket once he has that protection and make a really good throw down the field. We've seen this from Carson Wentz. We just have to make sure he can constantly emulate that from Aaron Rodgers and other successful quarterbacks, and mostly Rodgers, because I can see him becoming a really good quarterback. He's smart. He's willing to work. He's durable, surprisingly, after that initial injury at the beginning of the preseason. Kind of got scared, especially because we didn't see him play, and then all of a sudden he's our starting quarterback as Sam Bradford went to the Vikings. He took a lot of really hard-looking hits, but he got right back up, and that's really important. That's really good that he didn't get injured again. So, I think definitely having a summer camp will be a really good way to go.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for Eagles Talk. Kyle, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I know it was a good season for the Eagles in terms of talk. Unfortunately, we had some ups, a lot of downs, but it was great talking Eagles. We will probably come back later this season, maybe talk about the draft coming up, because that's going to be a big deal. But we got Josh sticking around. I want to thank Kyle McIntosh for talking Eagles, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
You look incredible.
Did you go tanning? Yeah, check it out. Jealous. Best spring break ever.
No.
You're getting so tan.
Finals are the worst.
I'm so glad they're over.
We need some sun.
I can't believe our friends are getting married.
She looks amazing.
Where's your tan? I can't go tanning anymore. Doctor's orders. It's melanoma. I'm stage 3.
Melanoma is the second most common cancer for young women, 15 to 29. Protect yourself. Protect your friends. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. The best part about playing soccer is that I get to run around and have fun. Just because I had a heart transplant, I don't expect people to take it easy on me. I can still do anything they can do. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live. I feel like it's my responsibility to live each day to the fullest. And the thing I look forward to the most is having my own family.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Hello and welcome back to Sports Talk Philadelphia. Well, the 76ers, where'd this come from? We leave for Christmas break or, holiday break. Don't want to just go all Christmassy on everybody. Hanukkah, you never know. But we're talking Sixers, man, and we're talking about hashtag trust the process, hashtag raise the cat. I mean, who knew? We're raising cats now? I mean, I'm a dog person, but I'll do it. I mean, I don't even have a cat. I'll buy one. But let's start out. We have Kevin Cook to come on to talk some Sixers, as well as Josh Abrams sticking around. But let's just get right into this, guys. Let's bring up the Sixers stats just to kind of look at some of the guys that have been playing really well for us lately. You got guys like Sharch, who rookie man just got named to the Rising Stars Challenge, along with Okafor and Embiid on the World Team with Embiid. You got Covington, who, man, he's coming up clutch. I mean, I've been a big Covington critic in the sense that I want him to do more on the offensive side. He's just missed some shots at the three-point range. But, man, he's playing some really good defense, and he's shown he knocks down some clutch threes in the game against the Clippers to win it. So, yeah, Kevin, just speak about this team. And obviously we have Holmes up here who's done well now recently as well. But just speak about this team as a whole, what we've seen now. I mean, we've been away from this team. Well, this is our first show back. Just talk about what you've seen at this stretch where they're just playing amazing in 2017.
Well, you're starting off the year, no Simmons, and immediately you think, oh boy. And then you already know Embiid's not going to play on back-to-back nights, and now he gets hurt, and it looks like the Sixers are going to go back to losing games. But what's this? They keep winning. McConnell, Sarge, as you were saying, Bob Covington coming up clutch for the team. A number of players. They just brought up Rashawn Holmes from the 87ers who played well down there, and he goes right back to what he was doing in the preseason for the Sixers. And they have continued to play well, and it's actually amazing that they're playing so well with what is actually one of the worst offenses in the NBA. They score maybe like the 28th most points, which is obviously at the bottom of the league for the offensive categories, but they're playing defense, and they're playing it at a very high level with people like Covington coming up clutch, and as well as Nerlens Noel playing good defense on the back end as well.
Yeah, and it's amazing what they're able to do without having Embiid on the floor. And obviously, we have to talk about Embiid, but before we do that, let's just talk about kind of just what they've done over this last couple stretch now without him on the floor, able to win 2 straight. Last one coming against Milwaukee. Josh, just speak a little about how this team's able to kind of come around guys like Nerlens and Rashawn Holmes, even without you have a guy like Joel Embiid, who's been a huge reason for why they're doing so well.
Oh, man, I mean, Rashawn Holmes specifically and Nerlens, two of our big guys that are kind of, I wouldn't say Nerlens is backing up Joel Embiid because Nerlens starts a lot, but, I mean, Rashawn Holmes is just athletic. He's long. He can run the floor almost as well as anybody else on our team. And, those two specifically, especially Nerlens. Nerlens came up absolutely clutch with the jumper he hit last night to basically kind of seal it. And then, I think we're playing so well and we are just surprising everyone, which is what I love to see. Milwaukee had some very, very bad mental mistakes last night, and I think because of how well we're playing and how much we're surprising everyone out there, I think it's just starting to get into their heads like, holy crap, these guys are actually legit. They're a team to not mess with coming, going later into the season and into the later years. So, it's just very, very, it's very exciting to be able to, watch a Sixers game and get excited for it and have high hopes to win a game. Whereas last year we were a very young team last year, and we still are this year, and we probably will be for the next couple of years. But, this is a team that has a lot of energy, and it does start with Embiid, even though he has been hurt. But, he's always the first one out there to congratulate or, embrace his team, and, that's just what I love to see.
Yeah, and let's talk about Embiid. I mean, this is a guy that coming into this rookie season on a minutes restriction, right away he looked good. From the first game of the season against Oklahoma City it was national TV. He's like, oh wow, he looks good. And his minutes were only around 20 then. He's moved up to now to 28. He's averaging 25 minutes a game, but every game he plays, he's usually around 28, 30 recently. Obviously, injuries are a factor with him. He hurt his knee in the game against Portland, which they wind up actually winning thanks to Robert Covington we talked about. That's going to be, I think, the critical thing with him is his kind of reckless play, his just energy on the floor. Will that hurt his career in the sense that we need this guy on the floor? But if he doesn't understand that he has to play in control, it could affect himself as well as the team in general.
To be honest with you, Tommy, I really don't even want to think about his reckless play possibly causing an injury. But obviously that is luring in the back of everyone's minds when you see a big man jumping into the first row, trying to save a loose ball, and just the hustle plays that we're used to seeing from other players on the team like T.J. McConnell. However, I think that that's also the reason why everybody is growing to love Joel Embiid. Not only is he a personable guy, but he's also a hustler. He's going to put his body on the line to win the game for the team. And you saw that the other night. Who was it? Was it against Portland where he got the injury and he hurt his knee twice doing basically the same thing on a pump fake and driving to the lane? So we're going to probably get used to seeing Joel on the ground. And as much as we don't,
I'm never going to get used to that's the problem. You're never going to get used to seeing him on the floor.
As much as we don't like that, it's probably going to end up happening a lot. So we just got to hope and pray that he stays healthy.
As long as he gets back up. All right, to finish out, let's look at the Sixers since the new year began. And 9-3. Look at that, 102.1 points per game, which is ridiculous because they're not even that good of an offensive team. 43.6 field goal percentage, and then look at that, steals per game, 8.3. I mean, their defense has really been incredible. And we'll finish this off with you, Kevin, since you come on to talk some Sixers. What do you see from this team really moving forward? I mean, can they keep this up? That's pretty much the question.
I think that they can. They play team basketball, and that's why their defense is so good. Their steals, I think they're ranked in the top 10 in steals, and that doesn't even just show. They're also forcing turnovers in other ways, as you'll see teams with shot clock violations, 5 seconds, the 5-second violation on an inbound pass. So you're seeing a lot of different ways that this defense is coming up large for the Sixers. And the team basketball also moves into the offense for them. So when they play good D, it moves into offense. And that's currently why the Sixers are sitting fairly well, 4th in the league in assists. So team basketball is really the reason why they're doing this.
Hey, trust the friendship, all right? Trust the friendship. All right, let's get into Fast Five. We'll continue with some Eagles and Sixers and maybe a little Flyers talk as well, since we didn't speak about them. Josh, starting with you. Jason Kelce just got added into the Pro Bowl game since now Atlanta Falcons will be in the Super Bowl as well as the Patriots. They got to move some guys around. Did he deserve that? Does he deserve to get in?
My knowledge of offensive lines in the NFL isn't great, but I think Kelce was, I can't. Let's just say I can't come up with a better option then.
Okay.
So I think Kelsey.
Maybe other people could, but okay.
Maybe other people could, but I think Kelsey's nod isn't anything to rave about, but it's also not anything to get upset over.
I respect it. All right. Let's Flyers, Kevin. Just since we didn't really speak about them, they're a team in the playoff hunt. They're right at that wild card position. They just picked up a huge win against the Rangers in Madison Square Garden, which they haven't done, it seems like, for forever. Speak about that. Will they that last wild card spot? Because that's how it kind of looks like they're fighting for right now. Where do you see for this team? Can they stick right there?
I think that they can, but they're going to have to play a little bit stronger on the offensive side. Players that we're used to seeing step up for this team need to do that, and obviously we need to find the right goalie. One of these goalies needs to catch on fire for the defense to be shored up in the back.
All right, Josh, give me your too early prediction for the Eagles season. Give me what is the record there? They finished 7-9 in this past year. They finished 7-9 the year before with Chip Kelly. What do you see? Do you see improvement in the record-wise? If so, how many more wins? Because it seemed like we left some wins on the table this season. We could have easily beaten 8, 9, 7. I mean, there was a couple games against Detroit and such that we left on the table.
Right, definitely. Barring any devastating injuries, and who we can pick up out of the draft, and like I said earlier, out of the draft and in free agency, I think we can go 8-8. I'd put that
one win.
One win better. I'm hoping for at least a one win game improvement. So 8-8. My pessimistic view would be 10-6.
Isn't that more optimistic then?
Okay, yeah, my bad.
You're using the words the wrong way, but it's okay.
Way,
it's all good. All right, and let's go to Kev. Ben Simmons. This is a guy that's coming in. Hopefully soon. He's on a probably he's got like maybe a month or two, possibly coming back. He's cleared so far with all his foot analysis, his MRIs and such. He's raising the cat. Social media wants him back. Where do you think he returns this season, and when's the earliest? Is it right after that All-Star break maybe is when we could possibly see him, or maybe more towards the beginning of March?
Well, a lot of people are looking at the game against the Wizards. A lot of people think that that's a conspiracy theory that he's returning then. I don't really buy that. I think it's going to be probably a little bit after that. So I'd say probably a little bit later in the season.
All right, let's hope he's back, because I want to see him on the floor with him and Embiid, and the way the Sixers are playing would be amazing. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Sports Talk Philadelphia. First show of 2017. I want to thank Kyle McIntosh, Kevin Cook, Josh Abrams. If you want to check us out, we just made a Twitter finally. It's only taken us a while, but it's at Sports Talk LTV. That is at Sports Talk LTV, and you can also check us out on Facebook. You can check us out. You can email us. You can see us on TV, LaSalle TV, and on YouTube. So please see us. We tape every Thursday, so please join us. We really appreciate the love and the support. And that's going to do it for us here. Thank you, and see you next week.